Hi, everyone. Welcome back to She Blurs podcast. Today I have Melinda Melinda Curtis, and she is a romance author. She is the author of The Mountain Firefighters and The Blackwell Sisters. So, can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I came from the corporate world and I was a mom and I was looking for something to do that would be just for me. And I was, uh, I was an avid reader and I went across like in my to be read pile, book after book after book that was just not satisfying me. Like, oh my gosh, so boring. And this hero, I can't stand him. And, this mystery I solve it on page 10. I'm like, ah. So I decided to try my hand at writing. And so I was writing like at nights on the weekends after my kids went to bed. And in the meantime, I had this corporate career where I worked for a Fortune 500 company. And every couple of months, I would go on the corporate jet, which only sat six, plus it had a jump seat. And since I was the junior member, I would always be on the jump seat, which was actually the porta potty. So
Wow.
I'd strap myself into the porta potty. And I was, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm wearing heels and, I'm strapped to a porta potty flying through space, right? Like maybe I should really be more serious about my writing career. So yeah. So then I sold my first book to Harlequin and have since written, like, I've sold 40 books to Harlequin and 5 to Grand Central Forever and a couple to Small Press. I've sold some stories to Women's World magazine.
Wow.
I've kind of been on a roll. I've had one book made into a TV movie, and I talked to a film producer last week about some other opportunities. So, cross your fingers, knock on wood, just keep on pedaling. I just keep pedaling my bike.
That's amazing. What movie? I mean, what book was turned into a movie?
Well, the book was called Dandelion Wishes, and it was about two girlfriends. One, her mind drifted and they got into a car accident. And so the best friend was kind of severely injured, and the hero is the best friend's older brother. And he's like, I don't want you to be around my sister anymore because you're a bad influence. And she's like, we were just driving like a semi, kind of knocked them off the road or whatever. So they changed the title of the movie to Love in Harmony Valley, and it stars Amber Marshall, who is in that long-running series Heartland. She's a horse whisperer, and she's
Yeah.
a huge Canadian star. So it was filmed in Toronto, and it came out last summer.
Nice. I'm gonna have to look that up. Wow.
Yeah, so it's I love Hallmark movies, and I do write rom-coms, and but this one is like has some more serious issues of forgiveness and kind of moving on with your life, those kind of things.
That's amazing. So is the movie on the Hallmark channel?
It's actually, well, you can get it on Prime, Amazon Prime now, and I expect it at any moment to be released on Netflix, but it originally debuted on Up TV and then on several networks overseas, like France. So
Wow.
I don't know. It's been dubbed. I have not seen the French version. That would really just be hilarious to me. See my words like translated.
Wow, that is amazing. That's a great achievement. Wow. So, what or who inspired you to start writing?
There's a woman author called Susan Crosby, and she used to write these sexy books that were also, you would just cry, just like, be emotionally exhausted at the end. I just devoured her books. I just loved her. And it turned out she lived 45 minutes away from me.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I decided to, like, oh, maybe I could write a book, maybe I could do better than these people, whatever, and get rid of my high heels and flying on a potty. I actually wrote a fan letter to her and said, hey, how does somebody get started in all this? And she was like, oh, we have this writers group meeting, come up and
Wow.
be with us. And so she was, like my idol and my mentor. She turned into be my mentor.
That's amazing. So you got to meet one of your favorite authors. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So what would you say your interesting writing quirk is?
My interesting writing quirk. I have my parents have both passed, but they were quirky characters. And so for probably about the past 10 years, my mom passed away about 3 years ago, my dad about 6. But for about the past decade, I've been writing quirky older characters as kind of, they're within the story. And currently I have my Kissing Test series, which book 3 came out yesterday. Kiss Me at Midnight. And it has Grandma Dottie, who is sometimes her mind isn't quite clear and she has a bucket list. So she wants to do things like in this book, she wants to steer the yacht. So I think that's like one of my hallmarks is I have endearing older characters who are going through things that older people go through, right? Because that's part of life. It's not just a hero and a heroine in a vacuum falling in love, although it could be, and they could never leave the bedroom. But I do like to create more of a community around them. Oh, look, there's your sweetheart.
I don't know why she's up there, but, but yes, that's amazing. Wow, that is interesting. So you like to basically have like older characters tell older stories?
As comic relief to the main romance that's going on. So my romance characters are usually about 27 to 42 in age, but they have parents or they have grandparents or they have a great aunt or uncle who's a little bit, my mom said to me when she turned about 80, I think she said, I'm just going to remove my filter. And she and her friends, I think they all decided to do it at the same time because they were just out of control. Right? I mean, my mom was maybe not supposed to be driving. Like we kept telling her you shouldn't be driving. She had a walker. And so she put a walker in her back seat that was not the walker that we all knew about. And my brother drove up to check on her one day and her main walker was next to the driveway and her car was gone. So, because she could no longer fold up the walker and put it in the car and then get in the car. And she was like, well, my girlfriends were getting together. And my brother was like, we're getting rid of your car, And so these are the kind of parents and friends that they had that inspired a lot of the quirky older characters in my books.
That's funny. Yeah. That reminds me of my grandmother. Like we surprised her on her 91st birthday, I think. Yeah, we surprised her on her 91st birthday and she didn't know. And we were supposed to take her to a play. And she was like, well, when are we going to the play? And they was like, well, you have to go back to the retirement home and clean. And she was like, I'm not cleaning nothing in there. She was like, I'm not cleaning nothing in there. They made the mess. They need to clean it. And so we brought her back and everybody was like, surprise, happy birthday. And she started crying. She was like, oh, I still want to go to the play. But she was too excited. It was nice. It was her last birthday too, so we celebrated early. Yeah. But it was a nice experience to get to see her happy and smile. So I agree. Like older people, they're funny.
Yeah. And I try to treat them with all due respect, but I do write humor I write kind of a spectrum. So I have a traditional rom-com stuff that I write. And then I have like Harlequin likes me to write more, gentle romances. No bedroom really. They just want chaste kissing and, more community family-based stories. So I kind of write across the spectrum, which is really fun to do because sometimes I can be really goofy. And sometimes I can be like really heartwarming. Everyone has their own soft sides, right? The one of the the next book that's coming out is a collaboration that I did with 3 other authors in a fictional town called Sea Glass Bay, and it's for Mother's Day. And it's coming out April 27th, but it was a fun experience because my heroine was a single mom who needed a date for her ex-husband's wedding. And her 3 friends all set her up on blind dates, but it always turned out to be the same guy. So, awesome. But the other stories are about, like a woman who hadn't had kids, and a little girl in one of her classes thinks that she would be the perfect mom. So she kind of sets her up with her dad. So there's some cute stuff in there. And there's another character is a woman who was her good friend. They actually had a romantic evening, and then they were just going to pretend it never existed, but she turns up pregnant. So it's their story of how they get together. I mean, there's all these stories, and they lead up to Mother's Day, and they're all connected. Like, we mention each other's characters through each of our stories, and then the final story ends up on Mother's Day, and they're all together with their significant other, happily ever after.
Oh, wow.
That's that's called A Second Chance for Love, and it's coming out April 27th.
Okay, I'm definitely going to check that out. So is it just going to be on ebook, or is it going to be paperback too, or audiobook?
It's ebook and paperback. It's currently on sale, the digital version for $2.99, and it's going to be, distributed at Barnes and Noble and other, Walmart, other places where you can buy books.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah. I'm going to go pick that up. So, what do you like to do when you're not writing?
Well, we moved into a fixer during a pandemic. I would not recommend doing that. I would not recommend actually trying to bump out a house and remodel every bathroom in the house during a pandemic, getting a new roof during wintertime when it's snowing. Like everything, I think that we should have filmed this, because everything that has happened is what you see in those HGTV shows where they're like, oh my gosh, we have to rewire the whole house. Well, hello. Yes, that happened to us. Oh my gosh, we have to repipe the whole house. They had PVC pipe for bathrooms that they added up through the attic. Like, what if the pipes freeze? They're going to burst. They're going to come down on you.
Wow.
So totally bizarre, the things that we find in this house, but we love this house. So I am either painting in my spare time, or caulking, or I also lay tile. Like, my husband has things that he does and things that I do, and currently there are 4 doors waiting for me to paint them.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's amazing. And y'all just go and buy houses and flip them and then sell them and then buy another one?
No. We lived in our last house for 30 years in California, and all our kids went away to college in Oregon. No offense to the California educational system, but you cannot, there's so many people trying to get through college, or there were, that you cannot get your courses and get through the system in 4 to 5 years. It's just ridiculous. So they all came up to, my dad used to live up in Oregon, and they came up here to get their educations, their secondary educations, and then none of them ever came back.
Wow.
So we decided to move up here because our oldest son had a baby, and we're like, oh, well, we're either going to be 10 hours away or we're going to have to move. So we found a great location, a great piece of property, lovely neighborhood, 50 people a day walk through our neighborhood. It's and they're all chatty, and they've all adopted us, and they're all curious about what the heck we're doing to this house. And it's awesome. It should go in a book, but it really should have been an HTV TV show, because everything has gone wrong. So I'm waiting now. we're waiting to pull out our oven and our kitchen sink for when the contractor says the wood has come in from China to make the cabinets, and he's got time in his schedule. Because the last thing that we're doing is this kitchen. So I do not want to pull out a kitchen and have no kitchen for like 2 months while we're waiting for a ship to come in,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And
wow.
We live in Oregon. This is since we moved to Oregon, we don't really understand the whole thing. But you will drive by, forests that have been logged, because they rotate that through, and it's good for the environment because then you don't have all the wildfires like we had last summer. But it's like they're chopping down all these trees, and we drive by all these sawmills and lumber mills. Why do we have to order lumber from China? I don't understand. But there's a special wood that you make your cabinets out of that the contractor assures us that the best wood comes from China. So, okay, whatever. It's not teak or anything. I don't understand, but
wow, that sounds like a lot of work. I don't know if I want to do that, because I was talking about buying me a house and fixing it up, but I don't know. That sounds like a lot of work that I do not want to do.
Yeah, make sure that it doesn't just need good bones, because we like tore down walls and opened stuff up and shifted the whole footprint around because we're wackadoodle, I guess. But if the thing that just killed us was really the plumbing stuff, and the duct work had to all be redone too. I mean, it was, as long as you don't have to do electrical, duct work, and plumbing, you'll be fine. As long as you don't move too many walls, you'll be fine. You'll be totally fine.
I'm definitely gonna do that. Check that out. That's nice. Wow. So, what does your family think of your writing, like your husband and your children?
Yeah, they're real proud of my accomplishments. They actually chip in if I say, "Oh my gosh, I've written myself into a corner. What can I do?" And we'll have a family dinner, and they'll be just tossing out ideas. And sometimes they're good, and sometimes they're not. And I hear them all and thank them all for their great ideas. And
that's amazing. So, how many children do you have?
If you don't mind. 3 kids, and my oldest is 31 now, just turned 31, and then 28 and 26.
Oh wow!
So we have a social worker and 2 teachers, and 2 of them are married, and we're like in that stage where we should not be remodeling houses. I should be writing. My husband should be sitting and watching baseball every day. And that's what our life should be. Yeah, kids come over. That's what it should be.
That's amazing, though, that you have that closeness with your family. I wish my family was like that. We are not like that at all. Like, we rarely get along, and we're all hermits, so we all stick to ourselves.
So if you're all hermits, you probably kind of like the quarantine.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I liked it, sitting at home watching TV. Like, that's all I've been doing, and journaling, because that's what I do, journal. But
yeah, I love journaling. I just don't like anyone to find my journal.
I remember one day my mom went through my journal. I'm like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, well, I'm just reading." I'm like, "You're not supposed to read someone's journal." But so, how many books have you written, and which one would you say is your favorite?
Well, I think I've written over 60.
Wow.
And what is my favorite? Gosh, I don't know. It's like asking me which of my children is my favorite. So I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun. I did have a Christmas book out last holiday season called A Very Merry Match, which was a super fun book to write. It was about all the books in that series, the Sunshine Valley series, start with a trio of widows playing poker to decide who they're going to match make in the book. So it's like a small town rom-com, and they decide that they're going to match the mayor, who's a single dad, with a kindergarten teacher whose husband died over a year ago, but left her with all this debt. And it turns out right as she's putting up her Christmas lights outside her house, and she's, congratulating herself that she's almost got all his debt paid off, then these two thugs show up, and apparently her husband had this online gambling debt, and they finally tracked down where she is. And so she has to take all these random part-time jobs to try to work her way out of debt. And the widows are constantly trying to, steer her towards romance. And she's like, I don't have time for romance. I'm trying to. And then it turns out her grandmother decides that she wants to date. And so, it's a rom-com. It's a small town rom-com. So hilarity will ensue. Bullet bras by a grandma, got to put something like that in.
I feel like I would enjoy your books. I really, 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 really love romance novels and romance and comedy novels. Like, I feel like I would enjoy your books because they remind me of Lifetime movies.
Oh yeah, Hallmark and Lifetime. Yeah. I think Hallmark has circled around me a couple times. Like when I get a good review on a rom-com, they'll be like, oh, some producer will come by, let me read this book. I want to, and it's like, well, I know that Hallmark movies you can't have, like, I don't think the husband having gambling debts, I don't think that would qualify for a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
You have lying or cheating ex-husbands or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have businesses that are failing or businesses that are starting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dog competitions, all that kind of stuff. I love Hallmark movies. Give me a good Hallmark movie and I'm happy.
I do too. And Candace Cameron, she always stars in a Hallmark movie because she's
right?
she's a real big Christian, and she those are her favorite films to act in is Hallmark movies. So I'm a huge fan of her. But
yeah. As the one I watched last weekend was it was filmed in Ireland, As Luck Would Have It, which oh gosh, I can't remember the woman's name who stars in it, but she's adorable. She's in that Sweet Magnolias series on Netflix.
Yeah.
It was super cute. As Luck Would Have It. That was a super cute Hallmark movie.
I'm gonna have to check that out too. Ooh.
You're not gonna have any free time once we're over.
So in your opinion, what do you think makes a good story?
Well, I am a huge proponent of the internal conflict. Authors call it that, internal conflict, which is basically that, you need to kind of grow and change and learn a little for you to really have a true happy life. So at the beginning, they may think they have a happy life, they may not, but then something about the story that they go through makes them grow and change and realize that, okay, I need to get rid of this belief or learn something new to have a happily ever after, to really earn it. I really love stories like that. And actually, that's why I love all those Marvel movies, because they gave all those superheroes, character growth, right? Like Iron Man went from selling arms to, not wanting to harm anybody, even to potentially save the world, right? So he had this lovely character arc. I just love stories like that, and I love to write them like that too.
That's amazing. So can you tell our listeners a little bit about a few of your novels, like The Mountain Firefighters and The Black Whales, stuff like that, your books like that?
Yeah, The Blackwells is a series there are actually 10 books now in the series, and it's written by myself and 4 other authors for Harlequin. And it's about a grandfather who has estranged his 5 orphaned grandsons and kind of brings them back to the ranch in Montana. And then he learns that he had a son that he didn't know about in San Diego who had 5 daughters. So he's trying to bring the daughters to the ranch.
Wow.
And then Harlequin just recently purchased another set of 5 books where the grandfather finds his estranged sister, and she's got 5 grandchildren, so it's, I love being included in projects like that, special projects like that, because the collaboration with other authors is so energizing. Like they can say, oh, why doesn't your heroine in book 5, be dating the wrong guy in book 1, and so we'll progress her throughout all the 4 books. And so you really get a chance to spend a little more time with each character in situations like that, which is really great. I have my Kissing Test series, which is about 5 sisters with a dotty grandmother, who are heiresses, and when they were in their teens, early 20s, they found guys were dating them for their money, and so they would do the kissing test. Like if someone was dating somebody else, they would send in another sister to try to kiss them to see if their affection was true, right?
Ah, okay.
So now they're dating, other guys, and there's not only the dotty grandmother who's doing things like trying to drive the yacht, that they're on, or but the sisters are all trying to watch out for each other as they fall in love. So those are true rom-coms, and it's really fun. It's a fun series for me to write. I like when that comes up in my schedule.
Wow, that's amazing. So are there going to be any more books added on to the Blackwells, or is that it?
Yeah, there's 5 more coming, and potentially 5 more after that from Harlequin. And the Kissing Test has at least 2 more books in the series. I'm also writing for Harlequin The Mountain Monroes, which is a 12-book series. I think book 8 comes out in June, and I'm currently writing book 10. And I just finished the Sunshine Valley series for Grand Central Forever, which was 5. It's like, hey, 5. We used to think in 3s, right? Now it seems like 5, 12.
Right. Wow. So can I get the Blackwells? Can I get it from your website, or can I get them from the bookstore too?
You can order them through the bookstore or through harlequin.com or through Amazon, B&N, any of those. They're digital and print.
Okay.
And there's large print available too, which I actually am starting to appreciate more. I changed on my Kindle, I changed my font size, and I've noticed, I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but when you watch something, there's like closed captioning, or they show they show someone's phone screen with the text, and I'm like, make the text larger.
My grandma's text is that big. She was like, make them bigger. I'm like, okay. Yeah, definitely. I want to thank you so much, Melinda, for coming on here and telling us about your books and about being an author.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. You're such a pleasure to talk to. I wish you all the luck.
Thank you. You too.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.